Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing the Jordan 6 UNC. Also, quick shout out to Afteca for sponsoring today's video and more importantly, helping us keep our soles icy and clean. More on them later. Specifically, we'll be discussing some release info, how to cop, and of course, some resale predictions at the end of the video. The Jordan 6 UNC releases on March 5th, although they already released early on February 21st through a shock drop on Nike sneakers. Congratulations to everyone who was able to cop off of my tweet. I saw that tons of you were, so that was absolutely fantastic. This shock drop alone had 70,000 pairs on Nike US alone, which is really insane. If you didn't cop, it's alright though, there are more opportunities to come. Just make sure you do follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and also personals for you, this way you never miss out on these things. And of course, as usual, just like all the other shock drops this month, Endurance members were prepared with early information. If you haven't heard the news already, Endurance will be restocking on March 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. CET, so follow the Endurance Twitter and set your alarm if you're interested. Anyway, retail on these UNC 6s are $210 for men's sizes and $140 for grade school. Stock between all sizes combined worldwide is just over 140,000 pairs, which is above average for Jordan 6. For comparison though, the Jordan 6 Carmine had over 180,000 pairs total, an absolutely huge amount for a Jordan 6, and remember, a whopping 70,000 pairs of these UNCs have already dropped through Nike Sneakers US alone. So while this is an above average stock drop, we have to keep in mind that a ton of the stock has already dropped, unfortunately. Regarding resale, we will cover that towards the end of the video as always, but specifically for this how to cop, we'll be going in chronological order along with exactly how to efficiently manage your time and set up for this drop, since a lot's going to be going on at once as usual. But prior to discussing those first come first serve online drops, remember I will always tweet out the full site list on my Twitter along with any urgent updates, so if you guys need links, feel free to follow me there. Also, please make sure that you don't forget to sign up for the Flex app reservations. This is one of the best ways to get your pairs, as well as asking your local foot stores about their procedure for the leftover pairs. Now, as of recently, the ship to me option has been disabled. It's not going to be gone forever though. They're in fact just currently making some updates for it to increase the security. But now let's move on to the online first come first serve sites. We'll start with the US sites in chronological order, then we'll be going to the Europe sites afterwards. At 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we may be seeing Undefeated drop, unless they do announce a drop for 11 a.m. Eastern Time, which we've seen them do on a couple of recent drops. Before this time, whether it be 8 or 11, make sure you are signed into your Undefeated account, as it is required for the site to check out. Be ready to solve a checkpoint captcha as well. If you don't have access to a Shopify monitor, you could also try refreshing the search page for AJ6, but your chance of copying here will be slim. But now, moving on to the confirmed 10 a.m. Eastern Time drops, this is where the actual fun begins as usual. Since there's a lot to focus on, I'm going to guide you and suggest to you how to efficiently manage your time. First, I would suggest focusing on Hibbett as your first come first serve choice at exactly 10 a.m. Eastern Time, since Hibbett will be one of those to sell out quickly, yet it seems to be one of your best manual chances, as we've seen drop after drop. You might get that press and hold captcha loop, which some people often get, so just some tips to prevent this loop, just like we discussed in the prior how to cop guide. Go to the coming soon page on the Hibbett calendar, and right before 10 a.m. you can click on the Jordan 1, then scroll down slowly until you see the sizes. If you scroll too quickly, then you'll likely end up getting caught in that captcha loop. Overall though, my biggest advice here is to certainly use Apple Pay on your mobile device for the most efficient checkout. Or as an alternative to Hibbett, you can choose one or two Shopify sites to focus on at exactly 10 a.m. Eastern Time, since those will sell out the quickest. If I had to pick two for you guys, it would typically be DTLR and Jimmy Jazz, and this is because Shop Nice, Kicks, and Shoe Palace shipping rates are very high, even though they do tend to get a good amount of stock. If you don't personally care about the shipping rates, you might want to focus there though. Regardless, any of these sites are definitely going to be more difficult than Hibbett in my opinion. In conclusion, your 10 a.m. Eastern Time focus should be on Hibbett, but here are your alternatives if you do desire. Now, right after those first come first serve drops are over, or even while you're waiting in the Shopify queue, I want you guys to enter in as many sneakers accounts into the drop as possible. However, at the moment, they have not actually loaded a new date for the 5th, so it's possible they may not drop again on Sneakers US following the shock drop. Normally, they do allocate some stock for the main drop, but 70,000 was certainly a ton of stock for a shock drop, so We'll see in the coming days if they end up loading or not. Assuming they do though, hypothetically if they do, then it will load as a Leo drop and it'll certainly be one of your best chances of copying. But what exactly is a Leo drop? Well, Leo drops essentially are just draws disguised as first come first serve drops, but you can actually have about 2 to 3 minutes to get in as many accounts as possible. On the other hand, if these were to hypothetically load it as a Dan drop, Dans are also known as draws. In that case, you'd have about 10 minutes to enter in as many of your accounts into the raffle as possible. Evidently, the more you can enter within that period, the better your chances will be. Although again, I do expect these to load as a Leo drop if they even load at all. Either way though, I made a full in-depth video which I'd highly suggest watching regarding the ins and outs of Nike sneakers. If you guys do need to make more accounts, remember that Nike does require SMS verification. You can't use the same phone number twice, so you will have to ask a friend of yours to use their phone number and ask them for the verification code. However, if you'd rather not bother your friends or you just want a significant amount of pre-verified Nike sneakers accounts, feel free to check out my site TARS. The link for that is in the description below for pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. After sneakers, you normally want to shift your focus onto periodically checking Finish Line, JD Sports, Snipes, and DSG in this case. Regarding Snipes, if you pass Q manually here, it's definitely possible, but passing the Q is the hard part. Now in Gargantua AIO and Endurance, we do get bypass links, so it's often a manual cookout here, but it's still definitely possible to pass manually, so I'd highly suggest keeping at least one tab open for it. Now aside from that, DSG is also an incredible opportunity manually. I'd highly suggest you open up at least one tab for DSG because that often has a lot of manual success, as we've been seeing recently more and more. You could also try to card on foot sites, but foot sites are pretty much going to be near impossible. I really just focus on Snipes and DSG for the most part, and then Finish Line and JD Sports should also be dropping as well. At least as of now, they're listed on the calendar, and if they do, it is also possible to cop off of here as well, so definitely make sure to open up one tab on each of them as well. Now, that will conclude it for the US sites, but prior to moving on to the Europe sites, I gotta tell you guys about the sponsor of today's video, Afteca. These guys specialize in sole protectors that are custom cut and shipped per shoe and size. So that means you got zero cutting to do on your end. They take care of everything. These UNC Jordan 6s look incredible, but a big part of that is those icy soles. Unfortunately, when it comes to soles like this, they tend to yellow after a couple of times wearing them, which nobody likes. And that's exactly where Afteca comes in to save the day, ensuring all of our soles not only stay icy, but stay clean as well. Stepping gum, no problem, Afteca has your back. They're also giving away a free pair of UNC Jordan 6s later in March, so be sure to follow the Instagram page for instructions at the end of the month. I've linked their website and the Instagram below, so be sure to check them out, especially for icy soles on shoes like these. But anyway, moving on to Europe sites now. Although many Europe retailers are doing raffles, there are still some first come first serve drops to prepare for. Just keep in mind that retail is slightly higher for Europe, which leaves a little less room for a good margin, unfortunately. The best drop for Europe, of course, will be Nike sneakers at 9 AM CET. These are loaded as a Leo drop as of now, so that means you'll have about 2 to 3 minutes to enter in as many times as possible. It is extremely likely that Soulbox and Snipes will also be dropping these at 9 AM CET, or maybe 10 minutes before 9 AM CET, as they often do. If you do have access to a Soulbox and Snipes monitor, you will definitely have a decent chance to copy manually here, so make sure you're just signed into your account on your browser. Zalando and Courier might potentially drop these as well, although they're not loaded yet. Then Offspring might potentially drop too. For Offspring, I just suggest enabling post notifications on their Instagram because they do randomly drop, and it's not going to be at 9 AM, so you don't need to focus on here at 9 either. Foot Locker should also be dropping, but as of now, they're not loaded on the calendar just yet, so it could be that they're delayed, but either way, Foot Locker is pretty much a near impossible manual shot. But anyway, that will be it for the how to cop portion of the guide. Now with the how to cop out of the way, let's move on to resale predictions. First of all, stock on these is about average for Jordan 6, although certainly not as high as the Jordan 6 Carmine. In terms of demand, however, it is absolutely insane for these, like we've seen on many UNC colorways before. We're still 5 days away from the main release, yet the sale volume is higher than what we often see on many general releases the day before the drop, even with exclusive access stock in circulation. In this case, there's a ton of pairs already in circulation from Sneakers US on the shock drop, but that doesn't take away from the fact that these are still selling so much at a rate of about $300, in addition to a notable amount of high bids as well. Despite a slightly higher retail of $210, I'm still pretty confident that there will be sufficient room for profitability with a subpar to decent margin, just nothing too crazy, given the extremely high demand these have despite the high stock. Large sizes will perform the best. If you have tax, I'd focus mainly on sizes 10 and up, but if you have no tax and are okay with a poor margin, then you might want to go for all men's sizes, as I personally am as well, and I definitely need to get a personal pair as well. As usual, I have a more in-depth resale prediction along with my seller hold video out on the day before the drop. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two. Be sure to check out Afteca to keep your souls icy, link in the description below. Remember, the limited endurance restock will be March 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. CET. Subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Last but not least, make sure to follow KeithAdam10 and also Personals for you. This way you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.